Gamecast from MSN.
Hi and welcome to June's MSN Gamescast. I'm one of your hosts, Jane Douglas of MSN Tech and Gadgets, along with Nick Taylor.
Hello.
And Ian Lee, of course.
Yes. Nick, you're looking tanned.
Really?
Yeah, you got your brown arms and stuff. You've been away?
No, I haven't. I've been on Brighton Beach.
Well, that could be it. Okay, let's start. We're recording this ridiculously early in the morning. We should say this. Normally we have a leisurely afternoon record. So if we sound rambly and a little bit out of it, then apologies for that. Let's start, as we always do, with what we've been playing this month. I'm going to dive straight in. I've been playing 2 games. The first game I was playing because I thought we were all going to play it and then talk about it. That was the email that Jane sent around. So I have spent far too long playing Bionic Commando, the full release from Capcom, not the download on Xbox Live. And it's an absolute stinker. It's awful. I don't get it. Neither of you have touched it, have you? You've not.
I didn't have time.
I haven't.
I'm
played it
sorry.
at all.
Shame on you. Well, it's basically you have to do lots of swinging around. It's all just swinging and firing at stuff with your bionic arm, which sounds fun, and it is fun for the first half an hour. But then that's all there is. There's nothing. There's no variance on that. It's the most linear game I've ever played. It looks like a free-roaming city, but as soon as you start to go out of that, you die of radiation poisoning. So there's just basically lots of... I just got past the bit where you have to kill 2 shield monsters, which... it's so tedious and dull. You basically just have to jump on them for 20 minutes. 20 minutes of jumping on them, and then they die, and then you move on.
Why can't you use your bionic arm on them?
Because they're shield monsters, Nick. They've got shields. Every time it's one of those ones where you have to jump on them, and then they fall down and they're exposed a bit, so you can shoot them a little bit, but you haven't got much ammunition, and it's just, oh, dearie me. So I've been playing that, and not enjoying it at all. Sorry, Bionic Commando and Capcom, who I'm a huge fan of. And I think they know it's too difficult as well. It's too difficult. And they know it's too difficult because I think they sent out a press release, or the letter I got when they sent me the game says, hey, we know it's difficult, but that's all part of the fun. And I don't think it is. I think it's a mistake on their part to have made it that difficult.
Is there not like an ultra easy setting?
No, there possibly is. I was playing it on normal setting. A normal setting you could normally... But one of the reviews I read, maybe in the Age or Retro game, I'm not sure, said you have to fight for every inch, and you really do. You know, you get a couple of inches forward and then you die, and it's just very repetitive.
It's no fun to play a game on easy setting anyway.
That is true.
Oh, you get no sense of achievement out
I've
of that.
never started a game on easy setting.
No.
Then again, very rarely have I started a game on veteran or hard mental level difficulty. So I've been playing that quite a bit. Jane, what have you been?
I've actually been in Los Angeles. I've
here we
been at
go.
E3
Here it
playing
comes.
games that have yet to come to market. So
Start showing off. What
Forza
have you seen?
3, very good, very, very good. Looking forward to that. I'm not even a big kind of like racing game fan, but it's an excellent game. It's got like a 5-second rewind, which is ideal for me because you know when you're in a really kind of like serious simulation racing, and if you screw up, then that's it. You might as well restart again because you've messed it up and you're going to come last.
Yeah.
But it's got this excellent 5-second rewind. So if you just take a corner wrong, go back 5 seconds, take it right.
What
and
an
then
interesting innovation
it's
on
really
the
nice.
driving
And then
genre.
because it is such a serious, we were talking to the guy who does the physics on it, and he's like, we model the differential heating on the inside and the outside of the tyres, and the way dirty air mixes with clean air. And then the guy was like, well, does that make any difference to the game? And he's like, not really, but we are perfectionists. So
Hey, does anybody?
fair enough.
I used to be a big fan of driving games, Gran Turismo and all of that. I'm not quite so much these days, but I used to love them. But has anyone ever, on some of the more advanced games, you can change the settings, like the tyre pressure, and does anyone ever do that? I've never ever done that. The most I've done is change the colour of the car. I've never changed any of the physics or anything.
I'm positive there are people who do, and I think the Forza angle is getting people who love cars to play games, and getting people who play games to love cars.
Yeah.
So I think the people who come at it as car fans are going to be the ones like changing the tyre pressure.
Nick, you ever
and that sort
tinkered
of thing.
on the internet?
Not for me, no.
Car?
Maybe like buying the little bit extras that you get if you're souping up your car just to make it go faster. But I'm not into all the
Changing it to
geekiness
red doesn't make it go any faster, I'm afraid, Nick.
and a little stripe down the side, flames or something.
20% faster.
I do like the flames. Okay, so what else have you...
Bayonetta. Have you seen Bayonetta?
No,
It's a
I
Sega
haven't.
game.
No.
From the guy who did Devil May Cry
Yeah.
before, and it's mental. You probably recognise the star if you see her. She's got glasses, she's a witch, she wears a black catsuit, she's got this kind of crazy Amy Winehouse beehive, and it's a bit like Devil May Cry, so it's this kind of mental.
Sounds like my mother you're
Japanese
describing
style.
there.
She is
I
a
do
bit
recognise her,
odd.
yes.
She is kind of a strange character, and one of her special moves is because her black catsuit is actually her hair, sort of magically formed into a catsuit,
yes.
and it all strips off and becomes a dragon, and then the dragon eats the guy you're trying to kill, and she's naked. And then the hair goes back on, and it's hallucinogenic.
Wow, that sounds kind of
But
freaky.
I'm sold, actually, after playing it for a while. It's actually really good fun.
Well, the Naked Lady sold it to me.
Well,
I'm in there, straight away.
There you go, so look out for that. And, there's a lot of stuff, but Left 4 Dead 2, it's got to be a highlight.
Oh, come on. This is what I've heard
So,
about it. These are the rumours that people have been
go.
twittering to me. You have a chainsaw.
You can have chainsaws, yes.
Okay. The witch runs around.
Wandering Witch.
The Wandering Witch.
I hadn't actually,
Yeah,
I didn't play that
apparently so.
part. Yeah.
And it's sort of set in daylight. It's all lighter.
There's daytime levels and nighttime levels and levels with storms because it's set in like the south, New Orleans.
Wonderful.
So there's going to be storms. There's going to be swamps, I think. Some of it's set in Savannah, some of it's set in New Orleans, like urban New Orleans. There's 4 new survivors.
Oh, really? They've not kept
Yeah,
this?
no,
Oh,
new
that's a shame.
survivors,
Okay.
which is kind of a
yeah,
shame.
I like those guys. And I think
me
that's
too.
a mistake,
Me
perhaps.
too. 3 new kind of super zombies, so 3 new bosses.
Yeah.
They're only showing 1, and it's the Charger, so it's a bit like the tank.
Yeah.
Has this kind of mega deformed muscular arm, and if it catches you, it just kind of pounds you into the ground. I'm doing the motion, but you can't see. But
And
it
it
just
does look
pounds
very,
you into
very
the ground.
violent, as you're doing,
Yes. And that was awesome. And there's kind of like intermediate special zombies, so zombies that aren't really bosses, but are a little bit kind of superpowered. So there's a hazmat suit zombie, which is awesome. He's like fireproof. So you can get incendiary ammo, so like special power-ups for your ammunition. But you also get these hazmat zombies that are completely fireproof.
Oh, wonderful.
Really awesome, really, really good.
It sounds... Left 4 Dead, as you know, I'm obsessed and addicted to. That sounds spot on.
And they haven't really messed with the gameplay,
It's
which is
still the
concern.
same.
Yeah, it's very much...
Nick, we've not heard from you yet, my friend. I'm sorry.
me?
I hope you don't feel left out. Well,
no,
you were
not
at this
at all. My time will
E3
come.
Little jolly as well, were you?
Sadly not, no. I was steadying the ship back home.
Part of me feels sorry for you, but most of me goes, ha ha ha, well done, good. I'm glad that I wasn't the only one left out.
Yeah.
What have you been playing this month? We'll come back to E3 in a second, but what have you been playing?
Sure, yeah. Well, I have been along to a couple of previews as well.
Yeah.
I had a go at Rockstar the other day. Their studio's playing Red Dead Redemption.
Oh, okay.
Which is quite an early look, but it's looking pretty cool, really. GTA in the Wild West.
Yeah. Oh, hello. Yes.
Which is quite an intriguing prospect. It's huge. They reckon it's about the same size in terms of the game map as GTA 4. And you can just go exploring through all of it. You've got the Wild West, but you can also go down into Mexico and stuff like that.
I suppose the good thing about it being in the Wild West is you haven't got to answer your mobile phone and do drug deals and stuff like that.
You don't have to take anyone bowling.
Yeah, I hope there's not too much of that periphery nonsense, because that ruined GTA 4 for me. I
think there might be a bit of it,
Right. A little bit's fine.
Yeah, I got shown one thing. It was like a mini game, and it was called 5 Finger Fillets. It's like that stabbing thing. That you do
it's that, right?
With the knife around the fingers of your hand, and
you have to do it in a computer game.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. You do it by hitting the buttons as the knife goes around, so you have to like match them up.
Yeah.
But the further you get into it, the quicker it gets, and you can win money from doing that. So that you can go and buy more weapons, etc. The game itself, it looks beautiful. They've modelled it all on old 50s and 60s westerns, and it's really got that look. Yeah. At the moment,
will it have enough to sustain though?
Well, hard to say at the moment, but I think so, because it's very much a Rockstar game already.
Yeah.
You can see that they just want this big open world where you can just wander off and do anything. And I quite like the idea of a shooter like that in the Wild West, because it makes a lot more sense, because that place is lawless. Whereas GTA, you go around shooting people and you sort of think, I shouldn't really be doing this. I should have got arrested by now.
The Wild West hasn't really been touched in gaming. There's been a few. I remember one on the Xbox a few years ago that was supposed to be quite good. I can't remember what it was called, but it's not surprising there's not been more from it. You cowboys are ripe for video games, I would have thought.
It's really underdeveloped, isn't it? That whole genre. So
you went to that Call of Warriors event as well, didn't you? So there's another like Wild West game. That'd be pretty good.
Ubisoft have one coming, yeah.
Is it Ubi or Ubi? I never know. It's Ubi, is it? I never know.
At E3, a lot of people were saying Ubisoft, but I've been saying Ubisoft all this time. I think we've had this out before.
It's
still undecided.
I'm really not sure. Maybe we should pick a different
Well, they're
one.
French, so and Ubi does sound Frencher.
Yeah.
Oh, well, let's okay, Ubi. We're going with Ubisoft then.
For now,
It's
for today.
Ubisoft.
Yeah.
Ubisoft's latest game, Call of Warriors. That looked quite cool. Played the multiplayer version of
Yeah.
that, which was
Cowboys again.
Yeah, and Indians as well. You can be an Indian with a
Oh,
bow.
okay. Most on PC. Very brave move.
Yeah.
I've also been playing this month Infamous, which has gone straight to the top of the PlayStation charts. Let it be never said again that I don't touch my PS3. I had a session on Infamous. A bit boring. To be honest, I know, I was really disappointed. I thought, because this is the one where there's been like some incident in the town. The town's all sealed off, and you can do good or bad things. And after last month, I was only doing bad things. I was starting riots, and I was stealing all the food from everybody, and I was really having a go. It hurt to do it. I was struggling, but and it starts off really good. The first 45 minutes, hour is wonderful and really exciting, and you're jumping around and you're zapping things, and your powers develop, and it's kind of free roaming to a certain extent. But then it's one of those ones where you've got the whole city and you have to find these points, and when you get to these points you get given like a mission, but you can start another mission while you're in the middle of one mission, and it just felt a bit... I don't like that. I like sort of having to do one thing and seeing that to its conclusion and then doing another thing. I don't... Because I'm always tempted, and this is my problem, I suppose, is if I'm struggling with one mission, I'll stuff this, I'll go and find another one. This one isn't really that important. And I didn't really... The best bit for me was when you jump off a building, like a really high building, I got that funny feeling in my stomach of when you're falling, which I thought was quite exciting. So I spent a long time jumping off buildings. But number one in the chart, so maybe I need to play it a little bit more. I will admit that I could be wrong on that. I only gave it a couple of hours.
I did that with Spider-Man, actually, when that first came out.
Yeah.
Just jumping off the Empire State Building the whole time. It was the best part of the whole game.
Yeah, that was a stinker, wasn't it, the Spider-Man, I think?
The first one was. The second one was quite good.
Was it all right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, listen, the big news is, we've touched on it briefly, is E3 in Los Angeles. How long were you out there for?
The show's like 3-4 days with the keynote speeches. I was actually out there about a week because you've got like a couple of days travelling.
In all honesty, how come Nick and I weren't invited on this?
Well, Nick and I take turns. So he went last year, I went this year. As for you, I'm not entirely sure, and I think you're busy, right?
Oh yeah,
you're
that'll be it. I could have got.
busy.
Let me tell you, I could have got out of work for that. I could have easily made that. Okay, the things that have grabbed me.
Right.
Okay, the first thing that's grabbed me is the Beatles game. I've mentioned this before, I'm a huge Beatles fan. I'm very excited. I'm registered online at the website and I'm getting all the info and the little trailers and things coming through. I streamed the trailer, I think, on Xbox Live. Did you get to play the game at all?
I didn't play it. The only venues for playing it were in front of hundreds and hundreds of people. And I'm not at all comfortable with, murdering a Beatles song in front of hundreds of people.
There are two great videos on YouTube. One is of Paul and Ringo excitingly coming out.
Yes.
I love them. I'm the biggest Beatles fan, but not having a clue what they were doing there, were they? These two old men shuffle out, sort of going. Ringo's doing the whole peace and love thing, but not saying anything about the game. They obviously don't really know what a video game is. Paul says something like, thanks to our... thanks for coming to our game show, or something.
Something like that.
Some weird thing, which it's either a really bad joke or it's him not knowing what he's talking about.
No.
Literally on stage for about a minute and a half.
Yeah, there was a vague endorsement, I think, in there somewhere of the game. Sort of.
He had his wacky thumbs aloft, that was it. But then there's another video as well of some people playing, I think it's Ticket to Ride or something, I'm not sure, on the stage. And they look ridiculous. Anyone playing that game looks ridiculous. I'm very excited. The video looks excellent. I realise, of course, I've backed entirely the wrong horse with Guitar Hero, as this is Rock Band, isn't it? Basically, it's so.
It is Rock Band.
I've got to buy all of the stuff again.
And the special Beatles gear as well.
Yeah, I know, the
so it's
Hofner bass,
exactly.
the Ludwig drums, it's all there.
I know.
It's going to be huge, isn't it? It looks wonderful.
It does, and they haven't released the full track list yet. I think they announced 10 at the show.
Right, they've announced more than that online, I think.
Is it?
There are more, yeah.
Okay, and then they said the full Abbey Road album will be out for download shortly after the game comes out. And then I think Xbox is getting an exclusive on All You Need Is Love. It's like a charity thing.
Just wonderful. Because September's brilliant for Beatles fans, going off slightly, because they're re-releasing all of the Beatles albums remixed in like 20.6 Dolby 3D surround. I don't know what it is, but it's all going to sound awesome. So this is obviously coming out to time with that.
Absolutely.
And I'm gonna my order is in, I'm getting the whole thing. So that's exciting. The other exciting thing, and this is a bit Xbox heavy, we'll deal with the PlayStation stuff in a bit. Project Natal.
Oh yes,
Spelled
Project
Natal.
Natal. I did actually ask one of the VPs of Interactive Entertainment, why Natal? Like, what does it mean?
Yeah.
Where does it? Nothing. Like, it's pretty arbitrary. Like, I don't. And maybe it means something, and they're not talking about it. But I think it's just a word.
Can you saw it?
Yes.
You had a go on it.
I had a go on it playing Burnout.
There's an excellent video on Xbox Live, and I'm not really a big fan of downloading videos on Xbox Live, but I'm doing it quite a lot for the E3, of basically showing what it can do, or what it will be able to do. I'm not quite sure.
Which one was this?
This is the one where it's the family at home.
Okay.
And the kid walks up to the screen
Oh,
and the screen
yes.
goes, "Hey, Tony, how you doing?
Yeah.
You want to play some games?"
Yeah.
Okay, well, how about this? And the thing where it scans his skateboarding,
Yeah.
and the bit where the mum and dad are cozying up and they're flicking through the channels by waving their hands.
And they say, like, play, and the video plays.
Now,
and
if that works, as that video says it works, then that is the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life. I was texting all my geeky friends saying, have a look at this. Does this technology exist? I don't believe it works anywhere as well as that.
Well, I know the
would
video
say.
you're talking about, and that kind of lifestyle family
Yeah.
in front of the. I think that's a bit canned. I think that is kind of what it will be able to do.
Okay.
Because at the moment, it's not a prototype, but it's not the final product. So
but
it's
you
still,
played.
I played it, and what it does do very, very well, and I suppose is the most important part for now, is motion recognition. So the idea is you can control your game without holding, a controller. And they had a screen up showing the wireframe, so like what the developers will be looking at, and it's got like 48 points on your skeleton. And it tracks those 48 points without you wearing a suit or holding anything.
That's one in
And
the face for the Wii, isn't it? Up yours, Wii. That teaches them a lesson or two, I think.
So yeah, Burnout. It's the original,
So
the
you
retail
sit there
Burnout game.
with your hands in front of you, and you turn an
Yeah,
imaginary
yeah. I was
steering
actually
wheel.
standing, but it should be able to track you whether you're sitting or standing.
And it works perfectly. There's no lag or delay or anything. It picks it up perfectly.
It worked fine. I think it would take some time getting used to because I would oversteer because
Yeah.
I'm expecting it to not be very sensitive.
Yeah.
It actually was quite sensitive.
It's incredible,
And you use I was standing, so you use your right foot to accelerate. You kind of step forward.
You step forward.
And it tracked that. So that's 3D movement. So rather than just side to side, it
Wow.
can forward and backward.
And what is it? I was trying to look at from the video. It looks like there are two scanners, one on the bottom, one on the top of the TV. Is that
It's
it?
just like a single sensor bar,
Right.
And it's got a microphone. It's got its own processor, and obviously it's got this camera. And that's it for now.
Nick, do we need? It sounds really exciting, but is it going to be a gimmick? I do like. I'm a big fan of the first Xbox controller, the big, fat, chunky thing where you're holding something.
Yeah.
Do we need?
I really like the look of it, and I like the idea of having Minority Report style sort of swiping
that's what it
across
is,
like
isn't it?
that. But a little part of me is quite Luddite about it as well, where I see all this stuff and it's you've got to stand up in the middle of your room and leap about to play a game.
Yeah.
And on another side, a lot of the stuff coming out was you can program your own levels, you can make this game and that game, and part of me just wants to sit on my sofa and play a game that someone has already written for me and just switch off.
Yeah.
You've had a long day. You want to? I sit at home, put my feet up,
Yeah.
and I'm there. I don't. I just want to move my two thumbs and maybe a couple of fingers.
And there's
That's
a sort
it.
of purity and directness to just press this button and you kick something, and you press this button and you shoot something, rather than actually having to.
The whole thing
go
of
through
kicking
the
a
motions.
football.
Yeah.
It does look very exciting. I'd be keen to see if it's as good. Then, of course, another video that's on YouTube. All these naughty people making videos with their mobile phones and things. The Peter Molyneux thing. Now, he's just got some job at Microsoft, hasn't he? He's been... I was reading online.
Yeah, he just got promoted into...
Okay.
some
So,
hype spot.
and Peter Molyneux, I've met him. He's a wonderful man. Sometimes he talks bluster, doesn't he? So some of the stuff that comes out of his mouth, you
He's
kind
the
of think...
king of hype.
He is very much so, very much so. I remember getting... Was it Black and White? I remember getting that after listening to an interview with him, and then an hour into it going... Oh, Peter, you've let me down. But he's a great salesman. He's wonderful at that. And there's a video of him talking about... some video of a kid.
Yeah, Milo. So
Milo.
that they had... I think it was from Lionhead. They'd spent a few months with Natal, and they'd produced this kind of little AI boy character.
Yeah.
That in the video, like as you've seen, like, there's a woman and she's talking to him, and she's
So she's a real
interacting with
woman,
him.
and she's talking to this
Yes.
kid on the computer.
Yes,
and
quite
he's-
convincingly
yeah.
in the video. So
I wonder how much of that conversation is scripted and one-sided, and she's kind of filling in the role. But no disrespect, there are some brilliant bits in it. There's a brilliant bit that gets a cheer on the video when the camera tilts down and she looks at her own reflection in the water.
Yes.
That's brilliant.
that is brilliant. Yeah. So it's kind of Yeah, because it's a camera. And
Yeah.
it's just playing the video
Yeah.
back on the screen, but kind of distorted, so like she's looking into.
That's a
the
nice little party
reflection
trick.
on the pond, yeah.
And there's the thing again, which looks impressive. Then you rewind it a few times, and you go, well, actually, where she holds up a bit of paper and scans the paper, and you think he's holding the picture and looking at it, but you don't see the picture. He just goes, oh, that's orange, or something vague and non-descriptive. So, again, it's smoke and mirrors, I think.
We'll see.
I'm happy to be proved wrong, and I hope I'm proved wrong. Interesting enough, did Sony mention any of their motion sensor stuff at E3?
Yeah, they had another tech demo,
Right.
a motion sensing controller.
Because that's all been kept a little bit quiet. Project Natal seems to have got all of the attention.
It did get. I mean, the Microsoft conference was first, so I
Right,
suppose
okay.
it kind of got in there first. The Sony one. What did you think of the Sony one?
I thought it looked really good, actually. It did look
Same
very
kind of thing.
impressive.
It's supposed to be out in next year, 2010. Yeah.
You
So
need
it's-
controllers for the Sony one. It's done with a pair of controllers, as far as I
Right.
could make out. Although
There's a
you may
little
just be
light
able to use
sphere
one.
on the end. So that
Yeah, they're like wands.
It's tracked. Yeah, exactly,
Okay.
like a wand.
And it glows on the top, and that's what you use. But it was the tracking of it was the really impressive thing. It was just exact, and the guy was doing a demo on stage.
Yeah.
And then there was a screen of him on the screen behind, where he was in the game, and he was, say, holding something. So
Yeah.
he'd be holding these wands, and he would have a tennis racket in his hand
Ooh, dirty,
in place of that
yes.
wand.
Yeah.
And he'd just be sort of hitting stuff like this.
That's
And,
exciting.
the guy was rubbish. He couldn't hit the ball. He kept missing it, but the technology looked great.
They said it's got like sub-millimeter accuracy tracking, and
Yeah,
and
it
it
looked
looked
like
true.
it.
Yeah, exactly. So
And
that
it's
is
in
impressive.
development. I was reading online that there are games being made for it now, and it will be out sort of hopefully early 2010. But these things always seem to get put back, don't they? Which is frustrating. And the thing that I thought was going to be a myth, because the pictures got leaked in advance, and it looked like one of those. Oh, that's a made-up picture. Was the new PSP?
Yeah, PSP Go.
And it's real.
It's real.
It's real. It's
It did look
happening.
made up, though, didn't it?
It looked like when they a couple of months ago there was a leaked portable Xbox.
Yeah.
And it looked like that. I thought
Totally.
some kid has just done this, but it's
very
real.
real.
And it's getting rid of the discs, the
No
UMD
UMD.
discs.
All download.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Is that surely all PlayStation PSP owners are going to be
Well, they're saying they're supporting the PSP 3000 indefinitely.
right?
I mean, we'll see how long that lasts. I mean, I think they're going to want to phase it out
Of
over
course,
time.
and also you can't. You've got like 100 PSP games, which I'm sure some people will have. It's maybe quite a lot. 50 PSP games, which is a big investment. Then you get this new one, you can't use them.
No.
Or have I missed a trick?
Well,
know
I
it's-
don't know. Maybe if they're smart, they'll be like you can
Download it or
them.
something.
Maybe. I mean, you shouldn't have to buy.
I think
these
there
things
is
twice.
something along
There
those
is something
lines.
like
I
that.
don't know
yeah.
the details of it, but I think if you have the game, you can transfer it on.
Okay,
if you want to.
and-
but this is the future, I think, because Xbox announced that they're going to make some 360 games
Full games
available for
downloadable,
download.
yeah.
And albeit at the moment they're old ones, but this is the way we're going. Because
Yeah.
really, who needs to buy an actual physical disc?
And
anymore?
also, like PlayStation Network's getting a load of PlayStation 1 games. So, like classic
really
PlayStation 1
fantastic.
games you can download now.
Yeah.
So
It
yeah,
is.
it's all
I think I
download.
was reading an article. I can't remember where, but it's saying that this is the way forward. That the physical game, I guess, much in the same way with music, is that music people don't really buy CDs. It's all downloaded. It's slightly different because music is much smaller. But I guess with with broadband and all of that stuff, it's not impossible. People are downloading movies as well. now. It's,
Absolutely, yeah.
I sound like an old man. I don't know. What's going on? What's wrong with going to the video store and getting a Betamax video? But it's out in October. So this year in the
is
States,
this year.
$249.
Yes.
Which
And
means-
€249 as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's always the same number, So it'd probably be
Yeah.
£249 as well, or thereabouts.
I don't know. They didn't
Someone
announce
should
pounds.
explain exchange rates.
It's 150 quid. The $249 is 150 quid, and it should be that or a little bit more,
Yeah.
over here. And I never quite get that trick they pull. Anything else we know about it? Any other gizmos and gimmicks?
The Wii Vitality sensor, did you see?
No.
Oh,
Ah.
the crowd was all these cynical game journos, and they were giggling. They were
Oh,
giggling
no,
at.
how embarrassing for
It's a fingertip sensor that plugs into the Wii remote,
Yeah.
and you plug your finger into the sensor, And I mean, they weren't explicit about it, but what I suspected is like a pulse sensor, so heart rate sensor, and also perhaps I don't know, a perspiration sensor.
Yeah.
So you remember you had that relaxation gizmo in,
Yeah.
where it's supposed to sense your breathing and your pulse and help you relax by showing you pretty lights, and you have to time your breathing with. It's going to be a bit like that.
Hang on
So
a
it's
minute.
going to be relaxation focused.
When did you have one of those, Nick? And why did you have one of those? You're one of the most chilled people I know. Were you
Well,
stressed? Is it?
It was it was just sent into us, and it was something that you put your thumb onto,
Yeah.
and
That
it
was it.
reads your pulse through your thumb. And red lights come up if your pulse is going too high, and you have to meditate and relax yourself and all of this.
But I know if my pulse. Anyway, we're
Anyway,
going off.
so that's
so
what
the
it
Wii have
does.
got something like that.
That's the vitality
people were laughing
sensor.
at them.
Well, they were, but I don't know. I think it's clever because in the same way that the balance board was made Wii Fit,
Yeah.
this is going to make Wii relaxation or whatever, and it's going to sell, like crazy. Everyone was really cynical about it, but I don't know. You could make a game, conceivably, maybe make like a survival horror game that
to
can
keep your pulse.
tells what your pulse is doing, and
Yeah.
so when you're most terrified, it can really like hit you hard. So
I'm not-
I don't know.
I'm not buying
or
it.
a lie detector game, because you could use the same kind of data.
Oh,
to
Jeremy
make a lie
Kyle, the video
detector.
game. Now I'm
Yeah.
interested. Who's the daddy?
So I don't know if they get creative with it, but they made up for it because they also announced Mario Galaxy 2,
Okay, brilliant.
which looks awesome, and Metroid Prime Other M, which is a Metroid Prime game made by the people who did Ninja Gaiden. So it's
Okay.
going to be like quite a hardcore like Metroid game for the first time, like a serious Metroid game.
Very exciting.
So that was a real fan favourite, and that was the last thing they announced, so they sort of made up for it.
I was reading online in the last year, Nintendo have scrapped a new handheld system they developed. They
really?
very vague, but some dude from Nintendo said, "Oh yeah, we had this new handheld, but we didn't think it really advanced anything, so we've just scrapped it. It's gone." Which is quite a brave thing of them to do, I think. Anyway, one thing I don't know if this was at E3 or if I've just read this somewhere, but this is what I was saying 3 or 4 months ago, kids. Xbox have teamed up with Sky.
Yes.
It's now a Skybox. They've won. Surely they've won now, haven't they? That's it. Game over. Because that's the thing. That's what everyone has wanted, is to make their console the one box you have under your TV. And now they've done it because it's Sky.
They got Sky Movies, Sky Sport. They'll have obviously all the Sky Entertainment stuff.
It just seems like, and I've been saying this for ages,
Yeah.
it seems like a no-brainer, really. I don't know how Sony... people do accuse us of being biased and whatever, and I'm genuinely not. I don't see how Sony are going to counter that. I mean, I know they've got their thing where you can make it into a TV and...
Yeah, you make it into like
and it records and plays, and you can stream it to your PSP and stuff like that. But this is kind of proper.
Also good.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think the Xbox One is more attention grabbing immediately.
Yeah.
So the PS3 still aims at more committed gamers, whereas Xbox just seems to have extended its reach
Yeah.
a bit with stuff like Sky, because it really stands out.
Yeah.
What Sony really needed at E3 was a price drop for the PS3, because it's still far too expensive
Yeah.
by comparison.
But still selling, it's still selling out there.
Yeah, true. But
People are prepared to pay it.
if it's really going to hammer home
Yeah.
the market like they did with the PS2,
Yeah.
I think it needs to be cheaper. It's about twice the price of Xbox.
I think someone was
some
saying
places.
maybe come Christmas time. Drop
Yeah.
it then. Maybe
I
that's
heard that
the big
before.
one.
that we have heard that before, but we'll see.
A couple of other quick things. Halo ODST and Halo Reach.
Yeah.
What do we know about them? I saw the trailer for ODST, told me nothing about the game.
ODST, it's a first-person shooter.
Yeah.
Again.
it's a different character, isn't
is
it?
ODST is orbital drop shock troops, I think.
Something like that.
So
The ones
you're
that
a
fire
squad.
down,
Yeah,
yes.
it's set. I think it's a prequel, so I think it's set, in the existing timeline rather than after, Halo
Yeah.
3. And the gameplay looks kind of similar. You've got some different weapons.
No, nothing wrong with that. Yeah, that sounds okay.
fair enough. And it'll have multiplayer, obviously.
Yeah.
Reach was just like a teaser trailer, so we
Right.
don't know much about that at
Okay.
all. But yeah, so
I like
Not-
the
not
look
too much
of
on
Mag. From what I
Mag,
saw of
yeah.
that looked really cool.
What's
The
this?
256 multiplayer,
yes.
all in one go.
Excuse me, sorry, what?
Yeah.
On the
That
PS3.
sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
That would
Mag
never
used to
work.
stand for
It's a massive action game, which is like the most generic acronym ever made.
And
but
so what-
it looks awesome.
What is
It's
it?
like a military first-person combat
Yeah.
game. But you're in your see if I can remember this. You're in your squad, and your squad makes up your platoon, and your platoon makes up your company, and so you've got two opposing armies
Yeah.
of 256 players, or less, depending on who's there. And yeah, it's a proper military simulation, I suppose.
Jeez, There's going to be lag.
I don't know. They had the gameplay demo on stage and also at the show. People were queuing around, around the show to play it, and it didn't look like there was a problem.
I guess that's going to be another thing, isn't it? Is most games now it's 8 or 16 players. 16 is pretty much the maximum. So I get on consoles. I know on computers it's 64 is kind of like a common figure, but yeah, going in 50, 60, 100, 200 players, that would just be awesome.
It'd be amazing.
That would be awesome, man.
Call of Duty to the max.
Oh yeah, I'm sold totally on that. That sounds wonderful. Doom is coming to the iPhone as well, which is another little reason to be happy. That's another thing I've got to shout about. Anything else from E3 that we should cover? Have we done?
Well, there's so much, I think, is the problem. God of War 3 looks good. That's out spring 2010.
Yep.
Did you like previous God of War? No.
I do. I say that. I didn't really play them. I had them, and they just looked too complicated.
Okay. Well, it looks spectacular, and so people with a PS3 should be buying that in spring next year. What do we have? Final Fantasy 13, of course. Modern Warfare 2, obviously.
Okay,
You've
yeah,
seen
of
the
course.
trailers.
Yeah.
So there is first-person driving action, and you're shooting at the same time. So vehicle
sexy.
segments and ice climbing, which is really awesome, and yeah.
No one really cares though, do they? They just want the multiplayer.
Yeah.
It's like, because they only showed the first player, it's like, it looks very pretty. But
I think it's a done
it
deal
shows
as
the
well.
multiplayer.
People are like, fine, whatever, bring it out, we'll buy it. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
Metal Gear Solid's coming to the Xbox as well.
I know, that was
That's,
exciting.
if you want a tedious game, Xbox fans, then
burn.
it's on its way. If you want
Metal
disappointment,
Gear Rising, yeah. So with Raiden, he's the
yes,
ninja cyborg dude with the blonde hair.
whatever. I just don't dig it. The first two games were awesome, just really wonderful, and then they tried to get too clever and too.
I'm more excited about the new Splinter Cell. Splinter Cell Conviction.
Yeah, that's good.
When's that coming
Really
out?
cool.
That
That's
is,
this
hang on,
year, isn't it?
late 2009.
Oh, we'll have some of that. So, very quickly, a friend of mine has been playing a game we mentioned last month, the one where you're on Mars or something.
Oh, Red Faction Guerrilla.
Is it really good? 'Cause
I have tried it. Yeah, it is
good?
excellent. There's obviously there's a single player mode, but the multiplayer mode, and you get a certain set of weapons. So I had a jetpack and some bombs.
Yeah.
And you're given
bombs.
a kind of building complex, and you have, I think it's a minute to go and cause as much destruction as possible.
Awesome.
And it's completely destructible environment. So and realistic destruction. So if you plant a bomb at a kind of weak point on a structure, then the whole building comes crashing down. And so you've got a minute to cause as much mayhem as possible. And then the next person has their go. And it's
I might
really
treat
cool.
myself to that this
yeah,
week.
I think you should.
I think I might have some of that. I'm out. Anything else that we need to mention from the E3? I think we've done
There's
the
just too
big
much.
stuff, haven't we?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Assassin's Creed 2 and Mass Effect 2.
All the usual sequels.
Yeah, lots of
Yeah.
sequels, in fact. Oh, Gran Turismo PSP at last.
Okay, yeah,
That's
well
out
done.
October, as early as October. So I think we've all been waiting for
Fat
that.
Princess for the PSP.
Yeah,
as well.
and Little
That
Big
whole
Planet
thing.
for the PSP as well.
yeah,
So
it's good.
You love
nice
Fat
for the
Princess,
PSP.
don't you? That's your favourite.
Well, I'm hoping to. I still haven't played it. I just love the idea.
Oh, and Alan Wake at last. Spring
Yes.
2010.
Alan
No,
Wake?
it's that survival horror from the people who did Max Payne.
Alan
And it's
Wake?
Alan Wake.
Not Alien Wake.
No, Alan Wake.
He's a person.
He's
is
a
he?
person.
I've not heard of
He's
this.
a novelist, and it looks good. It looks spooky. It's kind of Twilight Zone-y. He's in this town, and his wife's gone missing, and there's all kind of spooky like bats and lumberjacks and whispering and looks good. Looks
Okay,
good.
I'll have some
I'll
of that.
The game
endorse
with
it.
lumberjacks has got to be good,
Lumberjacks
isn't it?
with axes that they fling at you, and they're burnt by light and flares. And
Jeez, sounds scary. Should we go to the
it
forums?
is scary. Yes.
do it.
How do the kids get to the forums if they want to contribute in any way?
If
We've
you
not
want to
told
come
them, have we?
and say something at us, then go to tech.uk.msn.com and come over to the podcast section, or go straight to the message board.
Well, we asked the question, what's the best console of all time?
We did.
Very vague, very open-ended question. You can come at us with science, or you can come at us with pure
Nostalgia. Oh,
and
yes.
personal fancy. And a lot of people have done that. A lot of people were saying the PS1. Let me just quickly pick some up randomly. Johnny J. I'd say PS1 Defo, my first serious console, being 41 years old. My Atari was amazing nostalgia. Smurf, how bad was that game? Smurf was a terrible game, actually. I remember that. Brooker Boy says the PS1. The best console in my eyes was PS1. The start of 3 brilliant consoles and loads of great games. This has been the busiest, I think, month on the forum. I mean, it is appreciated, and we do look at them all.
Got that guy over there says N64 hands down, a classic console with games that are so great notable classics, Zelda, Mario, and of course GoldenEye.
The N64 is brilliant. I would say it's flawed though by having a ridiculous controller, and the graphics, because it was cartridge. The graphics were a little bit fuzzy. I'm a big fan of the N64. I have one in my bedroom with GoldenEye constantly locked into it, but the graphics just a little bit fuzzy.
But the controller made it for me because it was just some random dream that the designer had, and he woke up and went, "That would make a really great controller. Let's just do that."
Why has no one done this before? There's a reason why no one has.
Unnamed 7, it says it's between the Mega Drive and the N64 for him. And Muddy Bloke says, for me, it has to be the PS1. I remember getting it for the first Tomb Raider, was blown away by that game, which is valid.
Well, Psych23 has asked the question, I don't know if you answered it at any point, but can we nominate home computers? Yes, of course you could have done. The BBC Micro and the C64, definitely. Carbon says best console is the PC by far. There's a lot more freedom for developers on the PC. I don't buy that as being the best console. Yes, the more memory, more online, but it's wrong. I don't think it is at all. So Carbon, you're fired. So, a lot for the PS1. For me, it was between the PS1 and the Dreamcast, and I think I've come down on the Dreamcast simply because I think it looks beautiful. I think it's a design classic. This tiny little grey box with the orange light, wonderful, fantastic controllers with the little memory thing that you slot in there, and it didn't quite work, but it was very innovative. And the first console that could go online, and it was 64K dial-up. There were problems with it and lagging and dropping out and all of that. But I remember the first time I got that to go online, I was so excited. And playing Choo Choo Rocket was just wonderful. And a flawed console as well, because you could very naughty, but you could hack it very easily because it was just a DVD player or something. So you could people could hack games, and it was very exciting times, I think. So for me, it's the Dreamcast.
Slightly ahead of its time.
I think it was, and it didn't quite work, but it was a brave move. Nick, what would you say yours was?
I'd have to go with the Amiga.
Okay, yeah, fair
mainly through nostalgia, really. But I just have great memories of having a fistful of discs for my Amiga. Games like Powermonger and Populous and things like that. And opening the back of it to put in the half meg upgrade just so the graphics would look better. This enormous piece of circuit board just to get an extra half meg of memory in it. Stupid things like that. It was a great machine. It was my first gaming machine that was capable of playing really decent, reasonably powerful games. Yeah. Because before that I had the Spectrum, and the leap from the Spectrum to the Amiga.
I love the Spectrum. I think I've spotted a few Spectrums on the forum. I may be wrong. I'm sure there's a couple have said that. Jane, would you say yours?
I was going to say Sega Mega Drive, and it's mostly nostalgia, I suppose, apart from historical significance. I remember that I could afford so few games that they were all so precious to me. At one point I probably had about 5 games and I knew them inside out, and now I just I have all these consoles and all these games, and none of them are quite so precious to me. So that's for nostalgia reasons mostly.
Any others on the forum that we should address?
Clarky12 I think was the only one who came in with a handheld console, and he said Game Boy. Game Boy is his, followed by PS1. Yeah. So
good call. Very quickly, I have to address Pothers, who has written an online essay about... I know this is probably the longest podcast we've ever done. We'll finish in a second. An online essay about PES versus FIFA. All I can say, we haven't got time to go into this, and you'll think this is me being a coward. You're wrong. You are absolutely wrong. FIFA totally rules. There's no lag on it when you're playing it on your own. There's no lag. Pick up and playability. It's much better. I rest my case. Thank you very much. Good night.
Well, I don't think we can follow that.
Okay, we have a question for you this month, forum fans. And with the whole talk of Project Natal and the PlayStation motion sensor, which would you prefer? A whole motion capture, motion sensor type thing, or a hard physical controller in your hands? Go to the forum boards, let us know. We'll count up the votes, and then we'll decide which is best. It's as scientific as that. Oh, and by the way, we should again just say, for those who don't know, you can get us on iTunes, you can subscribe to us on iTunes, you can get us on the MSN website. What's the exact link?
Go to tech.uk.msn.com and click on podcasts. Subscribe
and, tell all of your friends that we are here.
Great. Okay, well, I think that's it for now. Thanks for joining us.
Ta-ta.
Goodbye.
Gamecast from MSN.